Fox and Friends did an all-time fail of a segment, even for them, and that's saying a lot. They're going to talk about how McDonald's is struggling to make money recently, and look at what they attribute it to. Then I'll come back and explain exactly why this is absurd.
Meanwhile, McDonald's, the Golden Arches, reporting a 30% drop in quarterly profits.
Why? Well, it turns out workers' wages might be to blame. Joining us right now from our sister network, our TV sister, Maria Bartiromo from Fox Business, getting set to do her show right at 9 a.m.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Problem at McDonald's, Maria?
Well, the issue really is this is the implication of raising the minimum wage for certain companies. I mean, something's got to give. The money comes from somewhere. So at some point, a company will say, okay, we have a higher expense base because we're raising the minimum wage. We've got to do something somewhere else. In this case, they're going to automation. They're changing certain jobs to computers. And by the way, that's probably the biggest story in business right now. Sensors. Sensors are being used throughout corporate America right now in many ways. Machines talking to machines, eliminating certain jobs. The jobs of the future will be very different than the jobs that we are looking at today.
So it's really biting them in the tail. They were complaining, saying we want more money, and as a result, McDonald's saying, hey, we're gonna lose some of you guys, and we're gonna replace you with machines.
Because the fact is it's not just about $10 an hour. It's about $10 an hour plus a benefit package, you know, benefit, vacation, and of course we know the expense of Obamacare. As a result, companies have to do something. So it's either go toward automation, hire fewer workers, take some workers to part-time versus full-time.
Well, ultimately, though, McDonald's could, you know, I know that the unions would like to see $15 per hour for employees, and the guy who runs it says, I'm okay with $10 an hour. But ultimately, what it comes down to is if there's only a certain, you know, pot of gold, they're going to have to raise prices.
Exactly.
And that's not why you go to McDonald's to pay a lot for a hamburger.
That's the thing. Something's got to give somewhere. So it's either fewer workers, it's either automation, it's either more part-time workers relative to full-time, or it's raising prices. Somebody has to pay for it.
So that's really interesting. They're blaming the fact that McDonald's profits are down 30% on the minimum wage increase. Wait. The minimum wage has not been increased. They're amazing. Fox News is stunning. Nothing gets in the way of what they already determined is the answer. Nothing gets in the way of their talking points. Nothing gets in the way of bashing poor people, bashing the idea of a living wage. We don't even have a situation where the minimum wage was raised, and you can blame decreasing profits on that. It hasn't been raised, but they blame it on the minimum wage anyway. They're so ridiculous. They're so ridiculous. I mean, how do they not catch that? There's not a single producer in the room when they're talking about how they'll discuss this later on the show that goes, wait a second, guys, but they didn't raise the minimum wage, so you can't blame it on that. Didn't happen. The producers are like, yeah, that sounds great, bro. That sounds awesome. I'm American. Also, there's a few other things I should throw out there in this conversation that are really important that Fox News will never tell you. If minimum wage workers were simply paid what they produce, so the actual amount of economic output that they create, they'd be paid over $20 an hour. If you paid minimum wage workers the dollar amount that they were paid in 1968 in today's dollars, they'd be paid over $10 an hour today. So effectively, because of inflation, you have a minimum wage today that is worth less than it was in 1968. Fox News will never tell you these things. They'll never tell you these things. They'll never bring up the basic fact that it's a common moral position and ethical position for all sane people to take the position that maybe if you work a full-time job, you should make enough money to survive. 80% of the American people say they want to raise the minimum wage. Even a majority of Republicans say we should raise the minimum wage. So who are you preaching to, Fox? You know who they're preaching to? They're preaching to their corporate overlords. They're preaching to the billionaires. They're preaching to the people on Wall Street. They're preaching to the multinational corporations. They don't even give a shit about their, conservative right-wing audience. Because, again, a majority of Republicans, even they say, yeah, we should raise the minimum wage. Because people are not that callous. They're not that abrasive.